this was one of the better days of the season at Emirates. Although we've had a lot of good days, and I remember the Nottingham Forest win. Was that 5-0?
That 5-0. 5-0.
Yeah. Obviously the Bournemouth scenes when Reece Nelson scored that last minute goal. Wolves were completely just on their holiday already. Wolves were a non-factor in this game. I watched the entire game and I just, we're safe in it. We're safe in the Prem. We don't need to overindulge ourselves, pull our hamstring, and I can't dance on Mickey Beach and Ibiza. So, let me just cool off. And I think for us, it's always kind of like a standpoint of, right, this is how we wanted to finish the season, as Arteta said in his pre-match press conference, and some foundations maybe being set for the next year. I think so. I mean, if we speak about the lineup a little bit, he stayed with the Partey at right back, Kivior left back type of thing. I mean, and there was a little bit of uproar again because we kind of obviously used it against Forest and it went left, but it kind of spoke to me that clearly he's trying something in terms of the player selection, because I think he wants more control. He wants more players who can do what Zinchenko does. And it's clear, I mean, even though, Partey was popping up in the same position Zinchenko normally does, edge of the box, trying to play in, line breakers and linking up in triangles with people on the edge of the box. So I wasn't too mad at it. I guess I still want to see more variety in terms of like a different plan, because it's clear that he's saying Tierney can't do it, maybe even in a sense, can Ben White do it, because Partey was the Zinchenko of today. This Kivior left back, I'm not really sure. So there's a lot to kind of take in or think about, maybe what are we going to be looking at next season. But again, I just worry that there's not enough variety. I mean, this is the first season where we've seen this, but now everyone's kind of clocked onto it. They know that the space is in behind whoever inverts and things like that. So, I just want to see, why not play, the kind of Trossards and even someone like Saka who can come interior and let our fullbacks kind of bomb on as and when, use their strengths. Don't kind of look at someone like Tierney and think, oh, he's not good enough, because he's got strengths. And I think losing someone like him would be very, very, especially to Newcastle. I mean, back in the day, we played Football Manager. You don't sell them players in the league. Are you crazy? Yeah. Send them abroad. They can't come and hurt me. Yeah. We're going to talk about Tierney, but you mentioned the lineup. You mentioned Partey at right back again, right? Now, I can't help but think, like you said, this is being done on purpose. There are other players that can move around positions and fill that void. Partey hasn't necessarily been in the best of forms in the centre of the pitch, in centre mid. Jorginho has been better since he come back in. Do you think Arsenal are looking at rejigging things, retraining and repurposing Partey as a right back as opposed to a centre mid, where we're looking at, it's being reported we're signing an 8 and a 6. Like, as much as it's going to cost, Arsenal are looking to fill both of those positions. We've got Ben White as an option at right back, to be honest, once Saliba comes back in. Obviously Tomiyasu can kind of play anywhere along that back four, so that's a good rotational squad option. Is Partey now like almost second to Ben White, if not first to Ben White, because he can do that inverting option, if that's a way that Arteta wants to go? Is Partey's long-term future in the centre of midfield?
You know what? Before I was really thinking, putting Partey who can't run, he doesn't seem he's able to like mobilise that well in right back, just felt like I'm not understanding it. But now I'm kind of thinking, is it about getting more control in games? Because let's dream a little bit. Let's say we get Caicedo and Rice. You got Caicedo in the 6 or Rice in the 6, and we can kind of flip that. And you've got Ødegaard. You've got 3 players who have shown they're good on the ball, and then you add Partey, who can now come into the midfield, similar to Zinchenko. And then that's like you've kind of got 4 midfielders now. When you've got the ball, if we can hold the ball more, then Partey doesn't have to do as much running. Obviously, my fear is that I don't think we can do that against obviously everyone, because I'm not trying to see Matoma or any of these men running against Partey because it would be absolute class.
Disaster.
So a disaster. So I think maybe there's a place for it. I think maybe, and this is where again I think maybe there's a favourites thing because we'll kind of see how it unfolds. But clearly, you know, Partey is an Arteta signing, so he knows his qualities. He knows what he can bring, especially in terms of his one-touch passing, the way he receives the ball. So he's thinking, where else can I utilize that? Because if he hasn't got the body or the physicality anymore to be running around doing single pivot, then, you know, maybe sticking him at right back when we're going to have a lot more of the ball will be helpful. And, you know, he's still a good defender at the end of the day. Maybe we're going to have to ask more of Saka or whoever's the right winger to come and drop back and kind of help him. But that's the way I'm looking at it now. It's possible. Maybe it's like, you know what, no more centre mid. You ain't got the legs for it the way I want to. And we've been asking a lot of Partey this season in terms of what he's meant to do in that midfield. You know, single pivot is crazy in this day and age with all the pressing and everything. So maybe he's like, you know what, don't worry, we're going to get some young bloods to do all the running. You just kind of try and at least have people running at you and not kind of like nicking the ball and you having to turn around and run and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a possibility. Or what do you think? Are you keen on it or?
What I am keen on is it saves us going to buy a right back.
Yeah.
A couple names have been bandied around. I don't want to kind of talk about them personally until it's a bit more concrete, but they're all looking like in the region of about 20 to 30 million plus probably, you know, 60 to 100k a week. Whereas we have this guy that again, he doesn't necessarily need to start. Ben White has been fantastic this past season, especially on the overlap. If this is a game where we need more control and Partey can play right back, we don't know how Saliba's going to come back in next season because of this injury. We don't know the level of it. I don't think they've been honest with us with this injury at all. Not. So if Saliba comes back in and doesn't look great, then Ben White can at least slide to centre back, and then we've got Partey at right back, especially in like maybe home games, group stages of Champions League, where we can probably get away with it a bit more because of all the I guess negative sides to it, like you mentioned already. So I'm definitely not opposed to it because I think it's a good option to save. He has played right back for Atletico before he came to Arsenal.
Yeah, he has. Yeah. So
it's not completely foreign to him. And yes, I would rather have someone of the ilk of a Caicedo, a lot younger and with the legs to do the running in midfield, and then Partey can come in and form that double pivot from the right back position if needed. So I'm definitely not against it. It's just a matter of, do we get the guy in centre mid then? Yeah. We have to get those runners, that adequate legs in centre mid to then put Partey there. Because even Partey at centre mid, we've discussed it in the past, you know, in our own group chats and circles. How much longer do we keep him at Arsenal? Like, Xhaka is ultimately, this is a good point for Xhaka to leave. The team's on an up. It's not like, oh, we're panicking to replace him or anything like that. We have big plans for who we want to replace him. And we can still command some kind of fee for him. If we're not going to sell Partey just yet, and maybe he's not the first choice, he's not able to do that job in centre midfield anymore, then finding a way to repurpose him within the squad it's still good business. It's still like good management, in my opinion. No,
definitely. And I think it keeps them hungry in a sense as well, because I mean, if it's like you see, because especially if you're Partey, imagine even just being any midfielder and you see two new young boys come into the squad and you're thinking, crap, what does this mean for me? I mean, even what does it mean for Jorginho? What does it mean for El Neni? You know, all these sort of players, they're going to have to start thinking about how can I change up my game? How can I show that I can do other things? You know, and I think repurposing the squad is definitely a great financial tool, because then you can just go out and get the players and spend more money on those areas. Especially, we haven't got the spending power of a City, of a Newcastle, of a Man United. We have to kind of sell and resell and all that sort of stuff, and able to get more revenue, more spending power. So to say, okay, we need a right back to cover Ben White, who can do what, you know, or we need to get someone who can do, kind of balance it. So we can do, if we play Zinchenko left back and Partey right back for a game, now we can invert on either side. All of a sudden now, they don't know which side they're going to have to apply pressure to. you know, and maybe that's a better way. And then if we say, okay, let's get the midfielders this season, maybe in January or maybe next season, you know, the season after next, we can be like, right, now let's go and get that right back because we've sorted midfield, you know. And that's a better way to kind of be like, yes, it's not exactly what we would want, but he's got the quality still, as long as no one's running at him.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how we go about it. I guess the summer transfer window will determine a lot of that.